Hi, everybody. My name is Kristine Watson. Most people call me Chris, and I am one of the co-owners of WSI Trash Recycling Valet. WSI Trash Recycling picks up waste door side at apartment communities and discards the trash and ensures that the recycling is properly recycled. We have been in business since 2010. I think it was about 2009, my brother-in-law called my husband and said, I've got this great business. He lives in Texas, and he said, you guys should be a part of it. And my husband said, I'm working 60 hours a week. My wife works. There's no way. So he said, okay. So we went about doing our thing, and a short time later, my husband was laid off from his job. And so he called his brother back and said, I think I'm interested in what you have to say. And so his brother flew out to Utah and laid out this business plan in front of us. Back east, trash valet is a very common thing. You don't move into an apartment unless it has valet trash back east. But in Utah, it was unheard of. And we said, hey, sounds good. So unbeknownst to us, we were the pioneers in the arena. And so it was really hard getting started. And luckily, I have a neighbor who is a property manager, and we talked to her, and she said, why don't you come and start at some of our buildings? Well, they own some of the oldest apartment buildings in the state of Utah. At the time, they owned the Cubby, and it had the oldest operating elevator in Utah. So that was always exciting, riding up and down that elevator with a toter full of trash. And the other buildings the stairs were quite rickety. None of them were the same height. So we tripped up and down those stairs. They've remodeled them since, and so they're a lot safer. But at the time, as we were growing and getting to know what we were doing, we were just out there doing whatever it took. And after a little time in the business, we decided that we needed some help. And so we invited my sister and her husband, Shauna and Bill, to be partners. Bill has a lifetime history in the recycling business. He worked in recycling with his dad most of his life. And then later we invited our son and his wife, Justin and Andrea, to also be partners. When we started, there we go. I was a dental hygienist. Ignore the fact that my mask is down off my face. This is my grandson, so it's not as bad of form as it could be. But this is what I did for 29 years. And so as we started into this business, there were three choices. We could self-fund it, we could go to investors, or we could get loans. And we decided we would self-fund it. And so what that meant is that we kept working. So my sister Shauna and I worked full-time jobs during the day and went and picked up trash at night. My husband and my sister's husband worked at the same company, and they had both been laid off. So they did all the sales and marketing during the day. And my son was a full-time student. So he studied during the day and went and picked up trash at night. And in 2018, all of us went full-time in WSI. And then we said to ourselves, now what do we do? We're all working together and we need an office. So we picked a beautiful, small bedroom in my basement to convert into an office space. So we had 4 of us in the office. My daughter-in-law was working on raising their children, and my brother-in-law worked outside of the office. So 4 of us sat desk to desk, back to back. And the problem with that was that as you are in that kind of a environment, I would answer the phone, I would talk, I would hang up, and the other 3 would say, who was that? What they want? So then we'd have to recap the phone call, and then somebody else would answer the phone. Who was that? So it was kind of like all 4 of us were doing the same job all the time. A lot of wasted energy, a lot of wasted time. And in 2019, I had the opportunity to participate in the Goldman Sachs 10,000 Small Businesses. And they taught a lot of business concepts towards your own business. And so that was very helpful. And one of my mentor in the program, Mike, kept saying, you guys need to get an office. And, excuse me, oh, I forgot to tell about the MRF before we get into the office. We also run a MRF, a material recovery facility, but we call it a SMRF because it's a small material recovery facility. And Bill, Shauna, this is Shauna, her husband, Bill, runs the MRF, and that's why he doesn't in the office much. But we call him Papa Smurf much to his name. So we pick up a lot of recycling and bale it and send it out to the larger MRFs in order to make sure that that is recycled correctly. So in 2019, they convinced Goldman Sachs and Mike convinced us to get our own office building. So the far side picture is us in my basement signing papers for our new office. Sorry, that excites me. And this one is us at the ribbon cutting for our new office. And all my Goldman Sachs friends were there and a lot of our employees. When we purchased this office space, we then hired one full-time receptionist, and she answered the phones and welcomed people as they came in. Last year, we purchased the building adjoining it, their condo spaces, so we purchased that building, and we now have 8 full-time employees, in addition to 80 technicians that are out doing the actual business. So it's been an exciting journey up to this point. One thing that happened when we first went into business is we went and told my mom, what do? You go tell your parents, this is what we're gonna do. And my mom said, don't do that. I'm like, why? She said, you will hate each other when you're finished. You can't be in business together. You'll fight and scream and holler. She was right about the fighting and screaming and hollering. We have a lot of knockdown drag out, but we still love each other to this day, and we enjoy working that close together. So I have some tips for starting, growing your own business, or even in the business world in general. One is to get out of your comfort zone. Right now, I'm very far out of my comfort zone. I am an extreme introvert, and standing here talking in front of people is not comfortable to me. But I found through this journey of owning our own business that getting out of your comfort zone is what helps you grow. It helps your business grow. So don't ever be afraid to step outside your comfort zone. And always embrace growth. Growth can be scary. You know, we were pretty happy in our little office in the basement. And as we continue to grow, it becomes more of an adventure than a fear. But it can be scary. They're talking about going into Nevada, and I can't think about it too much, or else I get really nervous, because growth just makes more issues and more problems that you get to deal with, but it's exciting. And so always plan to grow and embrace your growth. And remember that you can't do it all yourself. Hire people, or if you're working for someone, don't be afraid to ask others for help, because you can't know everything and you can't do everything. So when you bring a group of people together, you can accomplish a whole lot more. And always endeavor to associate with people who can help you move further. One of the things that I learned in the Goldman Sachs program is that there are a lot of places here in Utah, and most of them are at the Salt Lake Community College. They have the SBDC, which are a small business development center. You can go there and get free help when you're building your business. And also the Women's Business Center is downtown, and you don't have to be a woman to go there. Men can go there also, but they also will give free business advice and help you link up with the people that you need to in order to continue growing your business. So the picture, the bar picture, we call this the Trasholine. This picture to me represents do whatever it takes. when we were out picking up trash on a regular basis, this is actually a recycling dumpster. I wouldn't trash lean in a trash dumpster because that's gross. But we would climb in there and jump up and down to make more space for more recycling. The other thing is, remember that the people that you hire for you aren't going to be willing to do what you're willing to do. And that's okay, because I don't want people jumping in trash dumpsters. That would be a big liability to my company. But do what it takes and know that people that you hire will do a little bit less. The middle picture is a representation of learn as you go and change as needed. When COVID hit, and I know that that was just a disruption to everybody's life, but our job is to pick up garbage at people's doors. So the health department said, we don't really want you in apartments. We don't really want you touching people's garbage. And we had a discussion with them and said, well, where's the garbage going to go if we don't pick it up? And so working with them, we were already making our people wear gloves. And so the only thing they had us do differently was to wear protective goggles at the dumpsters when we're throwing them in the trash. So we invested in the protective goggles, and we invested in a whole lot of Microban and Lysol, whatever we could get our hands on, and hand sanitizer. And we just handed that out to them whenever they needed it, whatever they wanted it for, so that they could feel safe doing their jobs. And talking to people, to business owners during that time and after, what we discovered is that people who were willing to adapt were the ones who survived. Businesses who wanted to do it, this is how we've always done it, a lot of them failed. And it doesn't have to be something as wild and crazy as COVID. You could have anything come along in your business at any time that makes you take a left turn and you have to change. The laws could change and say, oh, we're not letting you do that anymore. So you have to be willing to look at that, open your eyes and say, how do we navigate around this? And this final picture, I don't know how well you can see that. These are all aluminum cans. These are bales of aluminum cans. It's one of my favorite pictures because I just think it's cool. But this picture represents don't put all your eggs in one basket. When we started our business, we started our MRF and we started the Valet pickup. And when we started cardboard bales, a bale about this size of cardboard is about 2 tons, just under 2 tons. And cardboard was selling for $140 a ton. So that was close to $300 worth of cardboard in that size. And we bring in a lot of cardboard. So we thought, wow, this is the way to go. The recycling, I mean, and aluminum was worth a whole lot more than cardboard was. But what happened is the markets turned and China didn't want to take recyclables anymore. And right now we pay sometimes to get rid of our recyclables. So had we put it all on the recycling, even though it was very lucrative at that moment, we would be out of business today. But now our Valet company supports the recycling for the most part, and that's okay with us because it's important to us to recycle and do the things that we can do. We're the only Valet company that offers the recycling as part of our regular package of supplies, because we feel like recycling is an important thing for our environment. The next thing is to be a problem solver for your customers. Whoops, I went too far. Every one of these pictures represents a problem for our customers. Sometimes they don't even know that problem exists. But if we can see that problem and go to them and say, this is how we can fix it for you, or they call and they say, we have a problem, how can you fix it for us? Our job is to answer that problem. And if you can be a problem solver and put customer service at the top of your game, you'll be at the top of the game. Because customer service is hard to find these days. People want to say, well, that's not my job, or I don't know what to do about that. Put on your thinking cap and solve the problems, and you'll be the one that they go to when they need things done. And also communication is extremely important. That's hard to come by these days too. But One thing that we get all the time is our customers will say, I can't believe how quickly you answer my emails. And that's one of our things that we do is our goal is to answer those emails as they come in so that our customers know that they're important to us. The next thing is support your professional organizations, national, state, local. Two of these are actually our professional organization where we do trade shows for them. And two of them are more local. The top one on that side is the Recycling Coalition of Utah. And down here is Cottonwood Heights Trunk or Treat. We'll never get any business from either of those organizations. And we're okay with that. The Recycling Coalition, we sit on their board and participate with them because, again, recycling is important to us. And that keeps us in the lead and in the know of what are the trends in recycling. Cottonwood Heights Trunk or Treat, we'll never get any business from there. But we give out a lot of candy to a lot of really cute kids and we have fun. But when Cottonwood Heights looks over their records, they say WSI participates and they're a part of our community. And that makes a difference in the big picture. One of the things that our professional organization is that our team, no matter what's going on, after the trade show, our team will be the last ones to leave because we're helping pick up, helping clean up, helping put everything away. And they recognize that. And so those things make a difference in the long run as you put forth effort to promote the trade organizations. This picture, though you might not know it at first glance, represents Enjoy Life. These three pictures over here are actually at Disneyland. Doing a little bit of toter research here. These wheels on the front, we've never seen that before. We got to look into that. These three pictures over here is how they recycle at Yellowstone. So always remember to take vacations. When you own your own business, it can be 24/7. There's nobody else to fall back on. You can't say call the boss, you are the boss. So take time, go out and enjoy yourself and recreate. And if you do a little research while you're there, that's okay too, as long as you're having fun. And my last slide is about celebrating achievements. This is me and my sister Shauna. This is how we look a lot of times. We spend a lot of time laughing and joking, much to the dismay of everyone else in the office. But we have a good time and we enjoy being together and we enjoy being with the other people that we work with. The 30K represents, this is how we gauge our success. And just last month, we reached 30,000 units serviced. That's how many door sides we go to. 5 days a week, several times a week. Some are 3 days a week and some are 5 days a week. So for fun, I did a little math. And there are about 1 million households in Utah. So if we went just from house to house throughout Utah, rather than doing the same thing over and over again, it would only take us 6 weeks to visit every household in Utah with that number. And so we got our entire full-time staff together. We had lunch and happy cake and celebrated our accomplishments. And you have to remember to do that or the grind will get to you. When I started out at the beginning, I talked about that owning a business is hard, and it is. It's really hard. But the rewards and the challenges are just, it's fun. And every one of us at some point or another, probably more than once throughout our time in owning this business, has wanted to sell it. So, and we have people sending us emails all the time, can I buy your business? And the lucky thing is that never do all 6 of us want to sell on the same day. And so we're still doing it. And in the overall picture, we love every minute of it. It does get hard sometimes because you are working a lot and you're the final answer. When I worked for the dentist, if somebody asked a question I didn't know, I was like, go talk to him, he's the guy. And now everybody's pointing at me and saying, go talk to her, she's the guy. And so it's a great place to be. And if you have thoughts of owning your own business, I would encourage it because I really enjoy it. I wasn't sure if I would, but it's been great. And if you have any questions, I would be more than happy to answer them.
Yeah, who has a question?
Yes.
So I saw on your website that in 2017 you guys got the best supplier of the year award, and which, by the way, congratulations.
Thank you.
Want to know, like, how was that like? How were you guys able to accomplish that?
So the Supplier of the Year award came from our state organization, the Utah Apartment Association. They've changed it. It's now the Rental Housing Association of Utah. And I think a big part of that was the fact that we stay after at every event where we come beforehand, we stay after, and they have one of those pictures was at the awards ceremony. They have that every year, and they pick a supplier. They give awards to all the apartments, you know, the best landscape, the best the other word, where the people come in to start with, the lobby. So all those things, they give awards to the apartments, and there's only 3 that go to the vendors, and that's Supplier of the Year. I can't remember the other 2, but we have been nominated for one of those every single year, and that year we won. And then 2020, I think, my husband received the Lifetime Achievement Award from the Apartment Association, which is a very big honor. And he's the only vendor supplier that has ever won that. It always goes to owners and operators of the apartments.
What was that award called? I'm sorry.
The last one?
Yeah.
The Lifetime Achievement Award.
Thank you.
Yes.
So, you know, in the trash business, obviously, you know, sometimes you'll pick up some pretty crazy stuff. I just want to know, what was kind of the craziest thing you picked up from trash, and how did you deal with it? You know, like,
We pick up crazy things all the time.
yeah.
Not something specific as to what we picked up, but we took on an apartment community that had trash dumpsters throughout the community, and it was a garden style, which means all the doors are outside. And they wanted to get rid of those dumpsters and have a compactor in the back of the property. And so they asked us to come in. So the idea was we would now take it from the door and take it to the compactor, so then the people wouldn't have to use the dumpsters anymore. So the people had a hard time with that concept, and they would just go and put their garbage where the dumpster used to be. So we would pick those up a lot of times. And one time we were out there with our truck, and we were picking up the garbage that was in the spot where the dumpster used to be. And this kid came out, he was a young teenager, and he had this box of food. It was just food in the box, and it was like gooey food. And he says, "Can I put this in the truck?" And I thought, you know, he would set the box. I said, "Sure." Great, now I have to pick up those bags and put them in the compactor. So we've seen a lot of crazy things, and wish that people would understand that somebody else is going to be looking at your garbage, so be careful in there. My husband picked one up once, and a butcher knife, and he's like, "Whoa." And so he knocked on the lady's door, and he's like, "Did you want to keep this?" She said, "Oh, I was wondering where that went." So we see some fun things and some not so fun things sometimes. Yes.
Have you considered branching out from apartments?
For the valet pickup, we would only do multifamily communities. And the reason for that is that in your standard single family home, you get a toter for your trash and a toter for your recycling that you just take out to the curb. That makes it very easy. One of the reasons that we do multifamily is because it's difficult to recycle in a multifamily community. Before we started, the multifamily community would put a recycle dumpster on site. And people don't like to pay attention sometimes. And so what would happen is it would become a trash dumpster. So whichever dumpster is closest is where I'm gonna put my stuff. And so they became trash dumpsters, and the waste haulers will charge a contamination fee, which is often more than it costs to dump the can. So then they would take the recycling dumpster off site. And so with our services, we ensure that that recycling is recycled. And so it makes it convenient in multifamily communities where we wouldn't really have that kind of opportunity at a single family home. We do pick up recycling sometimes at commercial entities as well. Yes.
Do you have, so with the recycling, I know that with the city, certain cities only accept certain things for recycling. I've lived in a couple of different cities. So I guess, do you ever try to like educate the public as to what is really recyclable versus what's not really recyclable? Or do you have to go through each of those bins and separate what is? Because some things aren't, that advertise that they are, but they're not.
Yes, almost everything you touch will have a recycle symbol on it.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean it's recyclable in your area. Milk cartons, the cardboard ones, don't recycle those in Utah. There's nowhere that we can recycle them. They are recyclable, but we don't have a facility here to do that. So we do a lot of education. And one of the things that has helped is being a part of the Recycling Coalition of Utah. They have put together a flyer called the Top 6 in the Bin, or the Super 6 in the Bin. And you can probably find that on their website. I think it's RCU. It's the Recycling Coalition of Utah. You should be able to look that up. And so what we're doing through the coalition is trying to get all the cities to use that. And if it's not on this top 6, then don't put it in, because the end user isn't going to want those things that aren't on that list. And most of the things that go from the city to the MRFs go to the same MRFs. And so in the long run, it should all be the same thing. But a few cities want to be really nice to their residents, and so they allow some other things in there that are harder to recycle. Glass is a problem, and we don't do a lot of that in the multi-stream in Utah, because what happens is if the glass breaks in that batch, then the glass shards get all over everything else, and that contaminates the cardboard, the paper, and all the other things. And so then that whole batch can be contaminated and put into the landfill. So we want to keep that recycling as clean as possible, so that when it gets to the recycling facilities, it is recycled and the right things are done with it. Did that answer your question?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, we also do education with our Valet program. So when we go to the door side and we pick up the recycling, it's in a clear bag. So we take a look at it briefly, and if there's a peanut butter sandwich in there, we give them a note that says, sorry, your peanut butter sandwich isn't recyclable. Please keep that out of the recycling. And so we leave notices to people and let them know what is and is not recyclable. And then when we get to the dumpster, that bag, although it's recyclable, is contamination. Because what happens at the MRF is they run everything through these machines. If you ever have a chance to go and tour a MRF, it's a fascinating thing. And they have puffers that lift the plastic up. So that's how they separate the plastic. And they have a device called an eddy current separator that hits the metal, and aluminum will bounce out of it. So all the aluminum is separated out. So everything goes into its separate section. And then it gets to this place where there's these big wheels turning the plastic up, and the bags will get in those gears, heat up and melt and bring the whole thing to a stop. So the bags at the dumpster, we tear them open and throw the bags in the garbage. Also, if you ever have a chance to tour the landfill, Salt Lake County landfill, awesome experience. And I think everybody should do it, because you learn a lot about your trash and where it goes. They they take all the trash and they smash it down, and they put more trash and they smash it down. And they have a newspaper in the lobby there from, I think it's like 1965 or something, that you can still look at the words, you can read it. It's in a case, but it's because nothing breaks down because they just keep putting things on top and there's no oxygen or anything to break it down. So it's pretty fascinating to see that as well. Who'd ever thought, as a dental hygienist, that I'd be touring the landfills and the recycling centers? But I'll tell you what, I'll take garbage over spit any day these days. Anything else?
I have, oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, no, you can go ahead.
No, you go.
So you mentioned maybe possibly in the future going into Nevada, don't want to, I don't want to think about it, but how do, so is that something that you were thinking about growing, or has maybe other states reached out to you because they're seeing what's going on in Utah? Is it a little bit of both, or how is that?
It's more our current clients are saying, hey, we've got things in Nevada, will you come out here and work with us? Our number one priority is customer service. And because we emphasize that, most of our marketing has been word of mouth. We just this year, we're starting to do marketing, and we've been in business for 14 years. So we've done a little bit here and there, but we actually have a marketing team now that we haven't had before, because we continue to grow 30% a year without having that, because customer service is our number one priority.
When they say referral based, it's always the best, so it's like, I'll
Say that again.
They were saying referral based, yeah, that's always the best.
Yes.
Referral, which just sounds like you guys are doing fabulous, so it's really cool.
It's a lot of fun. Do you have a?
Well, I was wondering what your biggest challenge was when you first started your business.
My personally biggest challenge was, we started, there were the 6 of us, and so we took turns going out, picking up the garbage, and it's several of the places downtown don't have anywhere to put a recycle dumpster. And so what we did is we bought a trailer so that we could pick up the recycling and take it to our MRF. Problem is that somebody has to drive a truck that pulls that trailer, right? I'm not a very good driver anyways. And they're like, Chris, you gotta pull the trailer. So my brother-in-law took us to the school parking lot, put up cones, and for the entire day, he made me back that trailer in and out, and I can back a trailer now. So that was a big challenge for me personally, because that was something I never aspired to do. And I don't do it very much now, but I have that skill if I need it. I think the biggest challenge for us as a company was that, for the most part, none of us had any business experience. My sister she was working at Wells Fargo in benefits administration. My brother-in-law mostly worked for his dad, picking up recycling. My son was in school getting a Master of Fine Arts, which isn't really related to picking up garbage. His wife has a bachelor in psychology. And my husband has probably the most business experiences. He's owned businesses before, and he's also a human resources director. So thank goodness we have him, because he saved us a lot of money. Yes.
Yeah, I was wondering, what kind of personal pushback did you receive after, you decided to go from a dental hygienist to, what you do now? Because I would imagine that there might be people close to you that are like, well, what are you doing? What are you doing this? Just wondering, how did you kind of cope with that?
Well, we invited most of the family to come with us, so that was. And really, my mom was only really concerned about being in business together. I think one of the reasons I give a lot of credit for my sister and I in our success to my mom, because never in my life have I heard her tell me I couldn't do something. And so whatever I go to her and say I'm going to do, she's like, okay, what do I need to support you? And so I did probably get a little bit from the dentists when I was telling them that I was transitioning, because I did work for them for a while. And I think they were more concerned that I was going to leave a hole in their operatory than doing something for myself. The one doctor that I worked for, and this is a good learning experience for me. I went to him when he found out that I had my own business. He started cutting my hours, and so I said, if you're gonna cut my hours, I still need to work full time. So I'm gonna, and in dental hygiene, it's really easy. You can work 2 days here, 3 days there, 1 day a week, however you want. And it's very convenient. So I said, I'm gonna need to get a second job and work 2 days at each place. And could you write me a letter of recommendation? And he said, okay. And so a couple days later, I went in and I said, do you have that letter of recommendation? And he said, I couldn't think of a single nice thing to say about you. And I think it was just, he was concerned about me taking away from what he was doing. And I went out to the car and I was just sobbing, and I called my sister and she said, you are a good hygienist. Don't you let him upset you. And that was a good learning experience, that other people's opinions don't really matter, because I'm not positive, but I bet my business makes more than his does now.
Thank you.
What other questions do you guys have?
Yes.
Well, it sounds like you have been working in teams for a long time. What would you say is what makes for the best functional teams?
The best functional teams, I would say, first of all, you got to put your ego aside. And I would say that the majority of times that we get into knockdown dragouts is because somebody's got their ego shown. And somebody's been offended or something like that. So the best thing is to set those egos aside, be willing to hear everyone's thoughts, and then work together to find a solution. When we work together, we can accomplish great things, and that's any team. But if I come into the room thinking that I'm better or smarter or any of those things than anybody else, then we're in for a downfall, because the whole group together is smarter than I am by myself. And we have to remember to put those egos aside, and then we'll accomplish a lot more.
Thank you.
Yes.
So do you have any financial roadblocks? And if you did, how did you overcome them?
Not a whole lot, because pretty much everything that we earned in those first few years went into the business. And we were very cautious about when we would go full time, to make sure that we were all sufficient before we went forward. And I think being in the Goldman Sachs program, one of the things that from the beginning, you're working on putting together a business plan. And whether you go through them or through another organization, figure out how to write a business plan if you're going to be in business for yourself. And so we had this business plan that they had helped me put together, and we're ready to buy our condo. And I walked into the bank and I said, here's my business plan, and I would like to borrow, I don't even remember how much it was. And the banker looked at that and he said, okay. He was so impressed that we had put down and said, this is where we're going, this is what we're doing now, and this is, I had financials in there, how much money we plan to make. And I didn't even have to answer any questions. He looked through the business plan and said, okay, how much do you want? I mean, it was really made a difference. It's a little different now when we bought our second portion, because unfortunately, during COVID, a lot of businesses took advantage of that situation. There were a lot of people who took out loans and things a little less than honestly. And so when we went to do our second one, I put my business plan on the table and he said, okay, well, let's see what you have. Where's your honesty level, was basically what it is, and asked a lot more questions. But financially, we didn't have any problem securing the money to get those loans for the buildings. But I'm also I'm the CFO of the company and I'm very tight with the money. And a big portion of our money goes into savings. Every 2 weeks when we go through the money, a lot of it goes into the savings because I want money for a rainy day. They get a little frustrated sometimes, but like, give me the money. Yes,
And so how do you divide the responsibilities with all of the other company?
that's a very good question because, like I said, in the beginning, we all did the same thing constantly. And probably just in the last couple of years, we have started to divide those job duties up. It used to be that ask any of us any question and we'd be there to answer it. And we were starting to get to where none of us had any room to breathe. The benefit for me is that I was always good at math. And so I kind of fell into the CFO position and nobody else wanted it because math, why would you want to do that? So my role has kind of been defined from the beginning, but in this past year, we've divided out. Rob does all of the human resources things. Justin is good at IT, so he's our IT guy. He also is our branding expert because one of the things that he focused on with his MFA was graphic design. So, and then he helps a lot with the legalese types of things. And then Shauna does all of our customer service and marketing. And when Andrea comes in, probably this next year, her kids are going to be going to school, so she'll be coming in as a full working partner, and she'll probably work with the human resources department. And then Bill, he's over the MRF, and so he's mostly over the operations of that. So, and it was hard because you get territorial. You don't think you're territorial, but when somebody says, we're gonna have them do the marketing instead of you, it's like, what? I do the marketing. And so, again, you have to put those egos aside and divide that out. It would have been a whole lot easier if at the beginning, we would have sat down and said, okay, you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do this, and you're gonna do this, but we didn't. And so it was a little more difficult, but it is very important to divide out those roles. Yeah. Yes.
I'm gonna probably revise this question, but what I wrote is, what would you say is your greatest accomplishment? What would you say your greatest accomplishment is in your professional development? By starting and running this company.
So what have I?
In your personal life, like what has been the biggest thing you've seen, the best change that you've seen in yourself since owning a business and really making this work?
I would say back to what I said earlier is getting out of my comfort zone. I truly, honestly am an extreme introvert. I spent high school sitting at my locker. I had no friends. I didn't want friends. I was just fine being there. Don't talk to me. So to be standing here today and even being able to say yes to the opportunity is a great personal achievement for me. And there are days that I really wish that everybody would go away and let me crawl into my cave and be by myself. But I feel like as a human being, I'm a much better person because I have that ability to communicate with other people and to show up. And I went to a class recently and I said, I just kind of feel like I'm not really that person. I go into the office every day and they call me a CFO, and I'm not even sure what a CFO is just because I know how to do their QuickBooks. And she said, you own it. You own who you are. And you walk in there with your suit on and say, I am the CFO of this company. And I've been working on that because it's true. And if you own it, then it helps you to become it. And I think that overall I'm a better person because I have been a part of this business.